What's up, you guys? Welcome to my channel. I'm Amelia. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you have not already subscribed, please click the subscribe button below and like this video. Comment down below what you think of this video. Please watch till the end. And today I'm going to be talking about how to get a study permit to Canada on your own or DIY without an agency. A lot of people think that they can't get a study permit to Canada without an agency, but you can, and it will cost you much less. So stay tuned for the rest of this video. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is about the study permit in Canada. So a lot of Filipinos choose the student pathway because it is easier to get to Canada and get a permanent residency. So the whole process is you get a study permit. You're allowed to study in Canada for 1 year or 2 years, depends on the course that you take and how long it will take. Usually the course will take 2 years, and after your 2 years you are allowed to get a PGWP, which is the postgraduate work permit, that will allow you to work in Canada full-time for at least 1 year. So after you finish the work for 1 year or more, you're now eligible to get a permanent residency. So that's how easy it is. And actually, when you have a study permit, you are also allowed to work for 20 hours per week, and during your summer breaks and term breaks, you're allowed to work full-time. So that is about the study permit in Canada, and a lot of people choose this pathway because it is easier to get a permanent residency in Canada. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be talking about is the basic requirements you need to prepare in order to get a study permit in Canada. So, excuse me, these requirements are really basic. These are really what you need in order to get a study permit to Canada. I'm not guaranteeing that you will get an approval. This is just normally what the basic requirements are for a study permit. Okay, so the number one requirement is your passport. Of course, you need a passport because you will be traveling. And I suggest your passport will not expire for the next 5 years because the Canadian Embassy would prefer that your passport would be valid during your stay in Canada. So you'll be staying for about 2 to 3 years. The Canadian Embassy would want your passport to be valid in the span of that time. So if your passport will expire in the next year, I suggest you will renew it. If you're applying for a student visa this year, I suggest you would renew it because they would still renew that even if the expiration date is still next year. Okay, and I want you to make sure that in all your applications you use the same passport number, because when you renew your passport, you are given a new passport number, right? So make sure that the passport number in all your documents in your application is the same passport number. Okay, so number one is your passport. Number two is two passport size photos. So it has to be white background and your face has to be neutral. But you can do a semi smile, the not obvious smile, like so. 2 passport size photos with white background. The next thing is your letter of acceptance. The letter of acceptance is the letter you will get from the school you applied for, and it is an assurance for the embassy that you already enrolled in a school. So I will talk about how to get a letter of acceptance in another video, and that is also one of the requirements for a study permit, of course. So number 4, you will need your official transcripts and certificates. So these are your college diploma, your high school diploma, your transcript of records, and Form 137A. So you also need to submit that to get a study permit. Number 5 is your proof of financial support. So Canadian Embassy just really wants to assure that you are able to pay for a 1 year stay in Canada. So the 1 year stay would cost about 1,100,000 pesos or more, but normally it is 1.1 million. So you need to show proof that you have 1.1 million to shoulder your stay in Canada. When I say 1.1 million, It is because the cost of living in Canada for a year is about 10,000 Canadian dollars. And your 1 year tuition fee would cost about 16,000 Canadian dollars. So all in all, that's 26,000 Canadian dollars. And if you convert it, it will equal to about 1.1 million pesos. Okay, so you or your sponsor would need to show proof that you or they have money in the bank for at least 6 months amounting to 1.1 million pesos. Okay, so if you're not paying for your study, then your sponsors can be 3. So you can have a maximum of 3 sponsors. And when you have 3 sponsors, when you have 3 or 2 or 1 sponsor, then all their money must equal to 1.1 million pesos. Okay, I'm not saying that each of them must have 1.1 million. I'm saying that all their money must equal to at least 1.1 million pesos. Okay, so that is the proof of financial support. So just a little disclaimer, the amounts that I'm stating, it is not definite amounts, because it really depends on your school. If you have a lower tuition fee, then you would use that to compute your total pay, okay, the total amount that you need. But the cost of living is 10,000 Canadian dollars, and that is what the Canadian Embassy is declaring as the cost of living of Canada for 1 year. So that's my disclaimer. No amount is definite. It will change. It depends on your case. It depends on the school, and it depends if you're gonna get if you're gonna enroll in an IELTS review center, medical exams, or any additional documents. So it will vary on your case. But normally, if your case is just normal, then this would be probably the amount that you will need. Okay, so back to the video. The next thing you will need is your photocopy of your marriage license if you're married. Of course, you don't need marriage license if you're not married. But if you are, you need to submit a photocopy of that as well. The next thing that you would submit is an NBI clearance. Now, a lot of people would wait until the Canadian Embassy would request from them an NBI clearance, but me, I went ahead and got my NBI clearance ahead of time and submit it together with my application, so that the embassy would not need for me to get an NBI clearance anymore, and it will cost more time. It will really take your application longer to get an approval if they have to request from you additional stuff. So get your NBI clearance and submit it together with your application. The next thing you need to get is your medical form or medical certificate. So same thing, a lot of people would wait for the embassy to request from them a medical exam, but me, I went ahead and got an upfront medical exam, because it does take a long time for the clinic to submit your medical results to the Canadian Embassy. So I did that before I submitted my application, and I submitted a medical form together with my application, so that the embassy would know that I've already taken my medical exam. And the time for the clinic to give your medical results to the Canadian Embassy is very long, so I suggest you actually do that first, so that it will be seen that you have passed, or there's something wrong with your medical exams, and you can go ahead and correct what was wrong, or like if there's additional requirements for your medical, then you can go ahead and do that. So it's better if you do the medical exam first. And the next thing you will need also is a certificate of employment, or your ITR. If you're working, it is a high approval rate for people who are working. If they know you're working here already, then they will need your certificate of employment or ITR. But it's not really necessary that you're working. It's not necessary. But if you are, so I suggest that you also submit your certificate of employment or ITR. Another one is IELTS results. So a lot of schools do not require for you to get IELTS, but for me, I suggest that you still take IELTS, just because when you get to Canada, there might be some instances where the school will make you take an English test or additional English class. if you have an IELTS, and that won't happen, because if you have IELTS, you don't need to worry about that because you already took an English proficiency test here in the Philippines, so they would not require you to take any English class or extra English test there. So the next and most important requirement is your study plan. Okay, so a study plan is like a long essay. Instead of an interview, you will be submitting a study plan or statement of purpose. And in the study plan, it's basically where you introduce yourself, tell them who you are, what you do, what's your future plans, what are your intentions in Canada, and are you really a genuine student. And it is, when I say it's really important, because it's very crucial. If you say something that you're not supposed to, you state something you're not supposed to in the study plan, it could mean, or it could lead to refusal of your visa. So making a study plan is a long process, and you need to revise a lot, and for those who don't really like to write essays, it could be very difficult, because study plan is normally about 6 pages, and whatever you declare in your study plan, you must attach proof also. So the format itself is very difficult. Which one should you state first, which one should be the last? So I will do a whole separate video about study plan, because I think I did a pretty good job on my study plan. Just kidding. So I think my study plan was okay. We don't really know, as I said, what's a really good study plan, but whatever has worked for before, that's the study plan that we're gonna put a basis on. So I wanna make a whole different video. I was actually thinking that would be the next video I will make, and I will post that in about 2 days. But I was also thinking that getting an LOA is the very first step. So I want to make that video first, so that you guys won't get confused. But the study plan, you must also start as soon as you can, because you will be, as I said, revising and editing it along the way. So comment down below which video I should do first next, okay? The study plan is the most important document in your application, okay? So basically those are the requirements. You just need to fill out a few forms. Also your visa application form, which is the IMM 1294, your family information form, which is the IMM 5645, and if you have a common law partner, you need to fill out the statutory declaration of common law union, which is the form IMM 5409. So those are the basic requirements in getting a study permit in Canada. And so that is all the basic requirements. I'm gonna state it all again for you guys. So you will need your passport, 2 passport size photos, your letter of acceptance, your NBI clearance, your original transcripts and certificates, your proof of financial support, your study plan, your certificate of employment or ITR, your marriage license if you're married, your medical form or medical certificate, and other forms like your application form, which is the IMM 1294, your family information form, which is the IMM 5645, and if you have a common law partner, then Declaration of Common Law Union, or the IMM 5409, and your IELTS. Don't forget the IELTS. So those are all the requirements. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is the 2 streams that can get you a study permit to Canada. So the first stream is the regular stream, and the second one is the student direct stream. The student direct stream, or the SDS, was recently implemented for Filipino citizens to acquire a study permit to Canada faster. Okay, so I will be talking about the 2, so you can weigh out which stream would you prefer on taking, or which is the best choice for you. Okay, so the regular stream is more documentation and more processing time. When I say more documentation, is because you need to show a lot of proof of financial support that you can pay for a 1-year stay in Canada, and that means the bank statements, the bank certificates, and the passbooks of you or your sponsors. So it needs to show there that there is enough amount for a 1-year stay in Canada. So you don't need to pull out that amount and give to them. You just have to show that it is in that bank account for at least 6 months, and that is the money that you will use for your 1 year stay in Canada, but it will just stay in the bank account. But in the regular stream, what you just really need to pay for is 6 things, which is your reservation fee for your school, your first sem tuition fee, your application fee, your biometrics fee, your medical exam, and your IELTS fee. So those are the 6 things that you really need to pay for the regular stream. And when I say pay, I mean get money out of the bank and pay really directly. So the first thing that you need to pay is your reservation fee for your school. So this will cost you about 2,300 Canadian dollars. And then your first sem tuition fee would cost you about 6,100 Canadian dollars. And your application fee would cost you 150 Canadian dollars. And then your biometrics fee would cost you 85 Canadian dollars. Your medical exam is about 11,000 pesos, and your IELTS exam would cost you about 10,500 pesos. Okay, so all in all, the total money that you need to prepare for a regular stream is about 350,000 to 400,000 pesos. So that money has to be really in your hands and you're ready to pay. Okay, so you still need to make sure that you have 1.1 million in a bank account from your sponsor or from yourself, in order to assure the Canadian Embassy that you have that money to support you in your stay in Canada. But what you really need to pull out and pay directly is the 400,000 pesos for all those 6 things. Okay, so I did mention that the regular stream takes more time, and it takes about 6 weeks to 2 months in order for you to get a decision from the Canadian Embassy whether your application has been approved or denied. But I don't really want you to think about the processing time, because there are a lot of cases and instances that in the regular stream an applicant gets a decision in 6 days or 12 days, or they were approved in just a week. So it just really depends on your case, and it really depends on how complicated your situation is. So don't worry about the processing time, because the Canadian Embassy would prioritize the applicants whose intakes are really near. So as I said, and I want to make sure that you know, in the regular stream you pay for about 400,000 pesos for all those 6 things that I mentioned, but you still need proof that you also have 1.1 million in the bank for a 1 year stay in Canada. Okay, so the 1 year stay must be paid by you or your sponsors. So the proof is the bank statement, bank certificates, dating at least 6 months. Okay, so 3 to 6 months would be okay. So that's what you need to know about the regular stream. So in the student direct stream, it is more costly, and it takes less time and less documentation. When I say less documentation, is because you don't need anymore to show any bank statement, bank certificates, or passbooks, because the 1.1 million we talked about in the regular stream that was in the bank account, you would now pull out that amount and put in a Canadian bank that you will make when you're here in the Philippines, and deposit that amount in that Canadian bank. Okay, so now you're pulling out that amount that I said in the student direct stream. So instead of showing proof that you have 1.1 million and you can pay for a 1 year stay in Canada, you will actually be really paying for the 1 year stay in Canada in the student direct stream. So in the student direct stream, you will be paying for a 1 year stay in Canada. Okay, so you're not showing proof anymore, but you're really paying. So you will put 1.1 million or more in a bank in Canada, which is called Scotiabank, and you can do this by bank-to-bank transactions, and BPI is the most popular one to help you with this. They will make a Canadian bank account in your name, and they will put that 1.1 million in the Canadian bank account. So then the Canadian bank or Scotiabank will give you a guaranteed investment certificate, or GIC, which will be your proof to show to the Canadian Embassy that you have already paid for your 1 year tuition fee. So no more bank statements or any of that. You just need your GIC, because that will guarantee that you can pay for your 1 year stay in Canada, because you've already paid for it and put it in a Canadian bank that you will use in Canada. So that's why they don't need any more of those documentations like the bank statements, bank certificates, because you already paid. Okay, so I want you to really know the difference. In the regular stream, you don't need to pay 1.1 million, but you need to show proof that you have 1.1 million, and you would only need to pay for at least 400,000 pesos, okay, for those things that we mentioned. In the student direct stream, you do actually have to pay 1.1 million or more to a GIC, and you have to deposit it to a Canadian bank as proof that you had paid for a 1 year tuition, 1 year stay in Canada. So don't forget that the 1 year stay is composed of the cost of living, which is 10,000 Canadian dollars, and your 1 year tuition fee, okay, which is about 16,000 Canadian dollars. So 1.1 million at least you need to pay to a Scotia bank or a Canadian bank account. So in the student direct stream also, there is a need for you to get IELTS results, and you cannot get a score lower than 6. So in the IELTS exam, there are 4 tests: the writing test, the reading test, the speaking test, and the listening test, and you must not get a lower score than 6. Okay, so the student direct stream requires IELTS always, even if your school does not require. If you're gonna do the student direct stream, then you still need to get IELTS. Okay, and the SDS or student direct stream takes about 2 weeks, but again, I don't want you to think about the processing time, because it really depends on your situation or your case. So I hope that you've already thought about which stream you would take. I hope that I've given you some pros and cons, and I have compared the two, and you choose one that's really best for you and commit to that. So just to clarify, regular stream, you pay 400,000 pesos, but you need to show that you have 1.1 million. Student direct stream, you need to pay 1.1 million or more and put it in a Canadian bank account. Okay, so that's the difference between the two, and the processing time, but don't really think about that. So the next thing I'm going to be talking about is, what state do you want to study in Canada? There's a lot of states, but the most popular ones are Ontario, Vancouver, Alberta, and Quebec. So I think those are the most popular ones, but there are a lot more states. A lot of you have already family and friends living in Canada and prefer to study in a school near where they live, and you can also do that. I will show you how to do that, but I can't do it in this video one by one, because there are a lot, and if I discuss to you guys in this video, then this video will take a very long time to end. So just choose what state you want to study in Canada, and you can search what colleges are available for international students, and that's really easy. Just really need to research, you guys, and I will help you. Just comment down below what you have for me to help you with. Okay, so a lot of international students would choose Ontario, because Toronto has a very large Filipino community, and it's just very familiar and comfortable. So that's why Ontario is the most popular state for international students. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be talking about is the different intakes. What month would you want to start studying in Canada? What month would you want to arrive in Canada? So there are about 3 intakes. There is the summer intake, the winter intake, and the fall intake. So the summer intake is in May, and normally not a lot of courses have the summer intake, and international students opt not to choose the summer intake, because in the summer intake, a lot of summer jobs are available, and when you have a study permit, when you have a summer break, you are allowed to work full-time. But for you, if you take the summer intake, you will be starting your classes, so you cannot work full-time. You can only work part-time. So that's one of the downside of the summer intake. But the weather is very nice in the summer intake, and it's not too cold. You can get around really easily in the summer intake. So that's one of the intakes. The next one is the winter intake, which is in January. Not a lot of international students choose the winter intake, maybe because it's too cold, because it is winter and sometimes the roads are closed and it's very hard for you, especially if you're an international student, because you don't have a car yet, to get around your place and get started in your stay in Canada. So, but there are a lot of work opportunities in the winter intake, and it's not too competitive. Some international students still choose the winter intake because they want their class to be to be more interactive with each other, because there's few people in the class. So the most popular intake is the summer intake, which starts in September, and it is very popular because a lot of international students choose this intake because all courses have September intakes, and a lot of Filipinos come to Canada during the September intake. So it's much comfortable and familiar because there will be a lot of you coming, and it's just familiar to you to have more Filipinos. And also the September intake is not too cold because it is fall and is very beautiful in Canada during that month. So a lot of people would choose the September intake. So I think that's it for now. Those are the first steps. Of course, we need to really discuss more. There's a lot more, you guys, like the study plan. Like the study plan, we need to talk about that and really discuss to you guys the format, what to include, what not to include, because that's very important. And I'm gonna show you guys how to get a letter of acceptance, and I'll also be showing you guys how to get your medical exam. If you have any questions about that, I don't think that I really need to do a video about the medical exam, but if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to comment down below and I will respond to you. Okay, and we also need to do a lot of other factors like the step-by-step process in doing regular stream and the student direct stream as well. So what's the first thing that you need to do? Okay, and I still also need to talk to you guys about how you can process your application, your online application, what you need to do if you're going to do online or paper-based. I think I'll do a video on an online because it is much easier. Okay, and I also have a lot of tips, because when I did my IELTS review, I also did a self-review, you guys, and if you also want me to do a video about that, then don't hesitate to comment it below and suggest it as the next video. Okay, so I hope you guys really learned a lot from this video. These are the first steps that you need to take when you want to get a study permit to Canada. And after you have thought about this and given your choices, then we can start the procedures in getting a study permit in Canada. So get as much requirements as you can, prepare as much requirements as you can, and the stuff that you need help getting, please comment down below also, so that I will also explain how I got those. And yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and please like this video, give it a thumbs up, or subscribe to my channel, and comment down below what you think, if you think I should do another one really soon. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Oh, this is my first time.